Hey there, friends. My name is Lauren Porter, and I'm pastor at First Methodist Church in Yazoo City. And I'm also currently the president of the Mississippi chapter of the Wesleyan Covenant Association. And it's in that role that I wanted to share with you for a few moments here today. As many of you may be aware, on Tuesday, January 2nd, the Mississippi Conference of the United Methodist Church released its updated and clarified timeline and process for church closure under paragraph 2549, subparagraph A of the 2016 Book of Discipline. Many of you will remember back in October of 2022, when a number of churches were going through the process of disaffiliation, the Mississippi Conference rather graciously said, look, this isn't your only means of exit. There'll be another opportunity later. And they did it in a spirit, I think, of don't rush. They said, you can wait and see. You don't have to hurry to make a decision now. So you can wait until after General Conference. And after a General Conference in May of 2024, if you decide in May and June of 2024 that you don't like how the General Conference went, you can always leave then. Disaffiliation isn't your only mechanism. And so they promised that through church closure, paragraph 2549, you would be able to exit the United Methodist Church later. Now, I think that was well intended in how they offered it. Well, the season of disaffiliation is now done. Paragraph 2553, as many of you know, sunsetted on December 31st, 2023. There is now no more paragraph 2553. There are no more disaffiliations. We have had total 386 congregations in Mississippi that used that paragraph to disaffiliate from the Mississippi Conference of the United Methodist Church. But that's the last of that. And the Mississippi Conference has now released its updated and revised timeline and process for how to do church closure so that you can wait and see. Now, that information was released on Tuesday, January 2nd. I have put in the description below two links. One to their webpage itself, the Mississippi Conference website, where it has a whole long page of all the steps and process and procedure for how to do this church closure process. I encourage you to go and read that carefully. Likewise, there is a link to a YouTube video that was released that same day. Bishop Sharma Lewis was meeting with David Stotts and the chair of the conference trustees, and the three of them together have a roundtable conversation where they asked and answered some of the basic questions that revolve around, well, how does that process work? It's a 16-minute video. It is well worth your time to watch. I encourage you, read that web page and its documents, as well as watch that 16-minute video. There's a lot of good information they give in it. I'm not going to redo all their information, but I do want to highlight three very important deadlines. And the information they released in this clarified process and timeline, there are three dates that are very important. There are hard deadlines, there are drop-dead dates, past which you can't do anything. If you don't do certain things by those dates, you cannot enter into this church closure process. And that affects your ability to wait and see. Because basically, you can't wait until May or June of 2024 and then start a conversation. These dates accelerate that. You need to start now. You really might want to start yesterday. But here are the dates. January 31st, March 15th, and then March 31st. Now, this is all from their websites. This isn't original to me in any way. I've taken this as a screen grab right from their site. Those three dates, now you'll note, those are all 2024 dates. Those deadlines apply regardless of whether you're hoping to leave at annual conference in 2024, so the June 2024 conference, or if you were hoping to wait all the way till annual conference of June 2025. You still have to meet these three deadlines on those three dates. There is no way to wait until May or June of this year, or even to wait until January of next year and start this process and still be able to exit by this means. Barring the General Conference opening up another path of disaffiliation or church exit, this is your only means. And so that January 31st deadline is really important. Do note, January 31st, 2024, that's less than 30 days from now, it requires that the chair of your administrative council, now that's your church council, administrative board, church board, everybody has a slightly different name for your leadership group, that steering committee for the whole church. Whatever that leadership group is, as you call it, they need to meet and authorize the chair of that administrative council to send a written notification to your district superintendent, either by a certified letter through the Postal Service, or preferably, I think, by a PDF attached in an email sent to your district superintendent. And it needs to communicate two things. One, that your church wants to enter into this church closure process and have a church conference. And two, which option on the certification it wants to consider, A, B, or C. Now that's on their website, and it has the options of it with inclusive language, without inclusive language, and another option yet. Go and read those carefully. If you have a lot of questions about that, ask your district superintendent, or if you can get hold of him, ask David Stotts, or contact one of the members of the conference trustees. They should be able to help guide you with that. But when you send that notification to your district superintendent, I'd encourage you to copy it to three things at once. To send it in an email to your district superintendent directly, to your district secretary, district office. District secretaries are good at keeping track of email and paperwork. And then also copy David Stotts in it, just so that there's no miscommunication. And all three of them have gotten the same information on the same day. And that way, usually the district secretary can remind both David Stotts as well as your district superintendent, this is the date by which that was received. But they have to receive that written notification by January 31st. Now kind of hear what that means. If you wake up on February 1st and say, we needed to send in that written notification, it's too late. Even if you were wanting to wait until spring of 2025, it's too late. By January 31st, they have to have received that, and you really need to get a written acknowledgement that they've received it. I'd want them to respond back going, we got it. So that's got to be done by January 31st. Now that doesn't commit you to complete the process. It doesn't commit you to leave the United Methodist Church. All it does is start the church closure process so that you can have the conversation and then follow through the next two steps. Then note what that second step is. That prepares you for by March 15th. You have to have a church conference vote convened by your district superintendent, the result of which is a 2/3 majority vote empowering your trustees, the local church trustees, to complete the church closure process, signing the contract, deeding over property. Now remember what a church conference is. That's a church-wide meeting, a congregational meeting called by the district superintendent and presided over and convened by the district superintendent. Only a district superintendent can call a church conference. It's kind of like a church conference, only bigger. It's a full meeting convened by your district superintendent and presided over by your district superintendent. And as a result, any church member in good standing can vote. Now, what does it mean to be in good standing? It means you've got them in the membership book. Their name is in. What happens if you've got someone who hasn't been for 20 years, but they show up? Well, is their name in the book? They're a full member. They get to vote. Likewise, if someone lives 3 states away, let's say they live in Florida or something. Well, that's a long distance, but technically they're still a member. They get to vote. What about kids who've been confirmed, those 14 and 15-year-olds? They can't drive, but technically they're a full member of the church. As a pastor, I can't stop them from voting. So I want to have some conversations with kids and parents so they understand what they're voting about. But it's a full church conference vote. And you have to have a 2/3 majority. Now, that's not required by the Book of Discipline, but the conference trustees have set that. It's their right to do. So they're requiring a 2/3 majority. That's 66.67%. What happens if you only get 65%? Well, it doesn't pass. You need that 66.67%. And if you get that 2/3 majority, all that does is empower your local church trustees to complete the rest of the church closure process as outlined and dictated by conference rules. And that means they will be empowered then to do what comes next. So that by March 31st, your local church trustees have signed the legal contract outlining all the terms and conditions for the disaffiliation, for the church closure process rather, and then also deed over all property and grounds of the church to the conference trustees of the Mississippi Annual Conference. Now kind of hear those two steps. They're going to sign a contract. What David had been calling a memorandum of understanding, it's a legal binding contract that'll have all the terms and conditions and requirements guiding how that church closure process will work for your local church, but also for the conference trustees and the Mississippi Annual Conference. It binds both parties to the rules. Now, I'd want a lawyer you know and trust to look over that. Not because you don't trust the Mississippi Conference, but because, well, if you're going to sign any contract that's big and that meaningful, I'd want someone that's representing me or my church to look over that just to make sure all the I's are dotted, T's crossed, that they give a thumbs up and go, yeah, that's a good contract to sign. It just gives you peace of mind, is my experience. But look, that contract's got to be signed. And then all building and grounds have to be deeded over to the Mississippi Conference trustees. That includes your parsonage. That includes that rental house you may be renting out to some family in town. Any property the church owns and you want to take with you, it needs to be deeded over. All that has to be done by March 31st. So that by April 1st, that contract's been signed and the ink is dried on all the deeds and the conference owns all your property, and they will be guided by that contract as to how they can dispose of that property. So that gives you the opportunity, if you've done those three things, that gives you the opportunity to wait and see what General Conference does. And if you like what General Conference does, well, then no problem, you can stay. It'll be stipulated in the contract, and I'm sure Bishop Lewis and conference trustees will be glad to give you your property back and let you stay United Methodist. But if in fact you don't like how General Conference goes, and it goes the direction I think it's going to go, and you don't like some of the outcomes, you go, wow, we need to leave. Well, then they'll honor their part of the contract, and by the conditions that are stipulated in the contract, you'll be able to probably pay a price. There'll be money involved, and you'll be able to do the process of leaving the United Methodist Church by the contract you signed. But all that has to be done by March 31st. Those three deadlines hold. A written notification to your district superintendent by January 31st, a full church conference vote by March 15th, and then signing the contract and deeding over all property to the conference trustees by March 31st of this year. That's true regardless of whether you're wanting to look at leaving in 2024 or even if you were planning on waiting until 2025. That means this is time sensitive. That first step is less than 30 days away. You've got less than 30 days to have a conversation among your local church trustees, your local congregation, and your administrative council church board, and to come to a decision that we want to at least start that process. All that has to be done now. there isn't really an option to wait and see in full. You can't just ignore this, wait a few months, and then in May or June of this year go, I think we need to start the conversation. It's too late. The time has passed. Those deadlines have already been missed, and you're stuck. You will be long-term United Methodist, and your only other option is, well, sadly, probably to walk out of the building. So understand, these deadlines are important. There is no grace period. There is no negotiating them. There will be no exceptions. David Stotts has made that very, very clear, and I take him at his word for it. Now, one might ask, why are they requiring this so early? I will probably try to address that in another video, but David Stotts has already answered that in that 16-minute video. Go back and watch it. He's got a good answer there, and I may try to kind of dovetail onto his answer to help back him up for why he's doing it this way. But I encourage you, prayerfully consider if you've been interested in that possibility of church closure. If this was the option you were waiting on, the time is now. June 31st is your first deadline. You've got less than 30 days. You need to get on the ball. Hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My phone number's not all that hard to find these days. It's on the internet in places. Likewise, you can leave a comment in the comments section below, and I'll try my best to get back to you and answer. Again, I hope this was helpful. Look forward to talking to y'all again sometime soon. Y'all have a wonderful day. God bless.